So prepare, plan for the worst, and pray for the best.
A dire warning as the East Coast watches where Hurricane Irene will go, what major cities the storm could target, and what popular tourist destination it's hitting next.
I feel the earth move under my feet.
I just looked out the window. I saw the building shake.
A rare earthquake rattling people from Washington, D.C. to New York, points in between and beyond, and another part of the country all shook up too. Forces of nature from the ground up. That's our big story. Your independent news network begins right now.
I feel the earth.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Mickle. Welcome to INN News. All eyes are on the East Coast as Hurricane Irene makes her way toward the Carolinas. First, though, the event that still has people rattled in that region. A rare earthquake hit yesterday afternoon, centered on Mineral, Virginia, but felt by millions in that region and even more people as far away as Canada. The 5.8 magnitude was a record, and it caused evacuations in the nation's capital and in New York City.
I just looked out the window. I saw the building shake. We were in a meeting. I said, I need to leave. I went and grabbed my purse. I said, I'm going.
I looked up and saw the ceiling moving and particles were falling. So we jumped up. Everybody just started running.
In the nation's capital, officials discovered a crack near the top of the Washington Monument. At the National Cathedral, multiple pinnacles broke from the central tower, but the structural integrity of the building was not affected. Both the cathedral and the Washington Monument are closed to the public today. Now, another major concern, nuclear power plants. One plant just 20 miles from the epicenter was automatically shut down. Fortunately, no one was hurt in the earthquake. Take a look at this. Colorado also got rattled by its largest quake in decades yesterday. It was a moderate 5.3 magnitude quake centered near Trinidad. This surveillance video from a store shows shelves rocking filled with groceries which fell to the floor. Fortunately, no major damage or injuries reported in Colorado either. Reno, Nevada is preparing for a big earthquake with the Great Shakeout practice drill in October. Nana Akawa from our affiliate KRXI explains why, after what happened yesterday, experts are concerned that Nevada could be next.
The 5.8 earthquake rattled residents all along the East Coast and a few people here.
We're on this kind of timeline that sooner or later will end, and we have to be prepared.
Local seismologists like Graham Kent say Nevada is on very shaky ground.
We're on the tailing edge of the Sierra Nevada microplate as the Sierra Nevadas are pushing to the northwest. And so all these very active faults happen to be right here in the Tahoe, Reno, Truckee basins, then down by Genoa.
While some say the East got away lucky today, a similar quake here could be a large-scale disaster.
We have the potential of having a 7.0, maybe 10, 20 times larger just in the Reno area specifically.
But even a small quake will be devastating.
If it's a direct strike in a populated area, even at 5.8, 5.9, it's going to be bad news in Nevada with our unreinforced masonry population of buildings.
A strike we've been avoiding for 50 years now, so it's crucial to prepare for what may be coming.
We need to get everybody in Nevada and also everyone in California to practice an earthquake drill so that we can minimize loss of life, injury, and then prepare your living space so that you can minimize damages.
Nana Okawa reporting for INN News.
Now the latest on that other major force of nature, Hurricane Irene, leaving behind flooding and damage on the Turks and Caicos Islands. Now it's making a beeline for the Bahamas as a Category 3 storm. There are major concerns tonight about where in the U.S. it's going to hit, which could include some major cities. Meteorologist Pat Walker is tracking this monster storm.
Mike, Irene definitely is a storm that has strengthened last night and so far today, becoming a Category 3 storm. That's with sustained winds over 111 miles per hour. In fact, Irene's winds are sustained at 120 miles per hour with a well-defined eye. And when we have a well-defined eye with a storm, that really tells us it's a mature and strong storm. So now that it is a Category 3 storm, we're talking major hurricane status here. Winds gusting up to 140. And again, 120 sustained winds. It's in the Bahamas, moving northwest at 12 miles per hour. Of course, that will be bringing it close to Florida, but not close enough to really do anything to Florida other than create the surf conditions and swell conditions From Myrtle Beach to Morehead City and the Outer Banks of North Carolina, watching it closely, but it looks like it just might scoot by the Outer Banks, but close enough to do some work to it, and then eventually making its way into New England, where it could be making landfall this weekend, maybe even on Long Island, at least the edge of Long Island. Here are the sustained winds. Red meaning hurricane force winds, and the orange being severe winds around 60 miles per hour, red being at least 74, and those definitely going to the Bahamas. And as it gets up toward the coast, even though North Carolina may not get a direct hit as we go into Friday into Saturday, at least winds around 60 miles per hour will be felt in the Outer Banks, and you know that will do some beach erosion, no doubt. And of course, some structures could see a little bit of damage there. Mike?
People in South Carolina are making preparations as that hurricane barrels toward them. South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley warns people in the path to get ready, but she says she's not ordering any evacuations, at least not yet.
At what point do we say, okay, we think you should get out? And I will tell you that it is a decision that we don't see us having to make tomorrow. I think if anything, Thursday is the day that we'd be talking about evacuations if we needed to do that. But it's one that when we do say it, we will want the state to certainly listen and make sure that they're paying attention to, but right now that is not the case.
Meanwhile, people are packing hardware stores, picking up needed supplies. Items like plywood and generators are flying off the shelves. Rebels are still in control of Muammar Gaddafi's compound in Tripoli. This video shows people carrying weapons, likely looted from the property. Gaddafi's whereabouts are still not known. Arabic networks have aired 2 new audio messages that are said to be from the Libyan leader. In the messages, he urges supporters not to give up. Rebel forces say they control about 90% of Libya now.
Time for Global News Now. China is inching toward recognizing the rebel forces as the next leaders of Libya. In its strongest statement so far, the Chinese Foreign Ministry praised the opposition, saying it hoped it would bring stability to the war-torn nation. Beijing has been a longtime ally of Gaddafi and his regime, investing an estimated $19 billion in 50 large-scale projects. North Korea says it's ready to return to nuclear talks without preconditions after a 2-hour meeting yesterday between Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and North Korean leader Kim Jong-il. The last round of 6-party talks took place in 2008. In addition to Russia and North Korea, the talks also include South Korea, Japan, the U.S., and China. No word when these talks will happen. Vice President Joe Biden spoke to around 1,000 U.S. military and civilian personnel at Yokota Air Base in Japan. They've been helping in the wake of the March 11th earthquake and tsunami that occurred in northern Japan. Biden is on a 9-day tour of China, Mongolia, and Japan, where he's been discussing a full range of bilateral, regional, and international issues. That's your Global News Now.
Hall of Fame coach Pat Summitt has revealed she is facing her toughest opponent yet, early onset dementia. A shocking diagnosis for someone only 59 years old. Summitt received the diagnosis in May when she visited the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Despite her diagnosis, she plans to keep coaching. Just 5% of dementia patients suffer these symptoms younger than 60. Summitt's taking medication, working on puzzles to stay sharp, and will stay on the job with the help from her assistants.
When you grow up on a dairy farm, you know, cows don't take a day off, so you work every day.
Summitt has more victories and national championships than any other Division I women's coach in basketball history. Well, higher learning is about to weigh less. E-readers are taking over in education, but are students ready to turn the page and give up their textbooks? Plus, sick of working hard and not being rewarded, a demand you might not have to make next year.
Everybody yell, show me the money! Show me the money!
Hi, welcome back. We start off our national forecast once again with Irene, this Category 3 hurricane, a major hurricane now. It's going through the Bahamas with sustained winds of 120 miles per hour, gusting to 140 and moving northwest at 12. It'll continue through the Bahamas, and maybe tomorrow as it emerges could be coming out as a Category 4. Then as it heads toward North Carolina, coming back down toward a Category 3 storm, and then maybe just skirting the Outer Banks, really close to North Carolina. And then as we go into the weekend, Long Island, Rhode Island, and into Massachusetts. Could be seeing this storm moving in as a weak 2 or a strong Category 1 hurricane. When we talk about these hurricane categories, that's the Saffir-Simpson scale, and here's an idea of what we're expecting to see with these winds. A Category 1 storm, 74 to 95 right now. Category 3 storm, 111 to 130, so 120 is right in the middle of that. And of course, the strongest, Category 5 at 156 miles per hour and higher. And definitely intense storms when they are that strong. Across the country, we still have active weather going on the lower 48 with a huge ridge in the west giving all the heat and storms going along this track. We're looking at thunderstorms in the northwest, which could lead to some wildfires and other severe storms with wind across the southeast and the eastern U.S. And some storms move through Arkansas to Louisiana and East Texas could produce some hail and some damaging winds here this evening. And other storms coming onshore in parts of the Carolinas. Nothing too bad expected with those, but across the northeast we could see some severe storms out of these. And as I mentioned, there's not a lot of moisture with these storms in the northwest, and with lightning we could see these leading to some wildfires. So red flag warnings in effect in many locations in Oregon until midnight tonight, and parts of Montana also for this evening too. So the lightning from thunderstorms obviously a big risk, and underneath all that, well, we have the heat advisories from western Illinois through Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, and then out toward the west, the excessive heat warnings for temperatures of 115 or even higher. So indeed, the heat's still there. All right, with the storm systems in the north, the risk for severe weather from Michigan to northern Kentucky into western New York and western PA, hail and damaging winds, maybe even an isolated tornado with some of these. And then into tomorrow, it moves into the northeast from New Jersey to New York, almost up to Boston, and that's tomorrow. On Thursday, waiting for a hurricane to come up there over the weekend. So a lot of activity in the northeastern U.S. as far as weather goes here this August. 78 tonight in Little Rock, 75 in Houston. Fargo finally a little cooler, down to 53 tonight. Phoenix barely gets out of the 90s with a low of 89 tonight. Then tomorrow, Phoenix 110, Houston 102, Washington, D.C. 81, and New York 84 degrees.